Hello, I'm Jake Boudreau, civic journalist at Tello Community Television. This week on The Record, Interim Nova Scotia Liberal leader Derek Mombourquette gives his take on the winter session of the Nova Scotia Legislature. The Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture reacts to the prospect of tariffs on Nova Scotia seafood. And a local adult learner recounts her experiences. But first, the Isle-Madame Volunteer Fire Department welcomes a new truck to its fleet. So I'm here with Cody Forrest, who is the Deputy Fire Chief with the Isle-Madame Volunteer Fire Department. So Cody, recently the department received a new pumper tanker truck. When did you guys get that?
So we got this March 8th. Was the delivery date. There's a misconception, I guess. It is just strictly a pumper. We don't have the ability to use it as a tanker at the moment. We did put a provision on there that eventually, if we want to add a dump, it's just a matter of taking out some screws and putting the valve in. So, but yeah, we got the truck on March 8th, and we've had it now this couple of weeks.
So maybe you can talk about the new vehicle. What's a vehicle like that worth?
Yeah, so this vehicle, I guess when everything was said and done, that was $807,000, just a little bit over $807,000. It's a fairly big chunk of change. I mean, everything when you put anything fire related on it, I mean, it triples the cost sometimes. So
You called it a pumper truck.
Yep.
It's not a tanker truck yet. But what purpose does it serve at a fire or some kind of emergency?
So at a fire, this is our main truck. So we have a front suction here. So our old truck, we only had suctions available off the sides. So we could put our portable tank, we could put it in the front of the truck, and then we could leave the road open if it's safe to do so. And we could have other departments that haul in water pull in front of us, dump in our tank, and we're able to use this front suction to use as our water supply to fight our fires. So this is our main attack engine. So any structure fire, car fire, grass fire, this would be the main truck doing all the work. So it's a very vital piece of equipment for our community.
So compared to the old truck, what's the difference? What does it do that the other one can't, or is it just a matter it's newer?
Yeah, so the reason we got the new truck is that we try to follow as much as we can. I mean, there's an NFPA standard, it's called, and any rural fire department just can't afford to follow all the NFPA requirements. It's just impossible to do with funding. But every 20 years for your first out attack engine, or your first out fire apparatus, they suggest that they're replaced every 20 years, or that they're pump tested every year, and as long as they pass their inspections, you can keep using them. So our board of directors, right at the end of COVID there, it was getting time. Our old truck was 2006. So with the supply and demand and the challenges to order stuff, they decided that it was time that we start looking at a pumper truck. So we formed a truck committee, went over what we wanted. A lot of similarities to our old truck, but this truck here, it's got a bigger pump. So this truck is rated for 1,250 gallons per minute. A big upgrade, like I said, another big upgrade is the front suction. The booster line in the front bumper as well, for quicker attacks on car fires and that kind of stuff, grass fires, whatever. Our old truck used to have the cross lays were up in behind the pump panel. So you had to have guys climbing up on the truck, and we can explain that a little bit later on when we take a walk around the truck. All right, so this is our pump panel on our truck. So this truck here, a big upgrade, is the air primer. And this has an auto prime feature. So when you click auto prime, truck does all the work. All the work we had to do before on the old truck, this truck does it all. This is our tank to pump is an electric valve. It does have a manual override in case something were to happen. You know, our pump discharge gauges, pump intake gauges, our digital controls. This is our foam system. It's a Foam Pro 2001 system. This is, again, our lighting, our upgraded lighting. So you hold these two buttons in, turns the controller on. Then you would lift this light up. Obviously, I can't go as high as I want.
Yeah.
Turn it 360 degrees. It has an option. We can turn the bottom two lights backwards if need be. And right now the truck is not on, so it won't keep the lights on. It's going to shut a couple off due to the power. But that's the lighting options there. So it's a big upgrade for us to have it, that the whole scene to be lit up and to be a lot safer for the firefighters. The firefighter safety, right, with the scene lighting and stuff. So yeah, like I said, all these are suctions. This is the front suction. Not the front suction, but the front discharge. Or the right discharge, sorry. 4-inch on the right. No, we have 2.5 on the right, 2.5 on the rear, another 2.5 on the rear. These speed lays are the cross lays, so these are our main attack lines, and they're actually under our feet. Then you get 2.5 inch on the left, you get another 2.5 inch on the left, and a 2.5 inch on the front. And all these valves are just how you control all the valves. Manual overrides for our pump shift. Everything's here. In this compartment here, we have some sand and our chimney fire equipment. We purchased a winch also. So our winch is on the other side of the truck right now. But we can put a winch on each side of our truck, plugged into the power, hooks up to the trailer hitch, and we have a fairly sized winch for anything we need it for. In here we have 2 spare SCBA bottles. Here we just have some more absorbent, and we're still trying to outfit the truck. Obviously, I mean we've only had it a week and a half. The photo, we put a community contest out for a design for this is where our portable tank is at, and so it sits in behind this design. Unfortunately, we received one submission, but it was just like letters. So we decided this picture was of Premium Seafoods. We actually took it off of the Almadam Through My Eyes Facebook page. He gave us permission a while back. We actually have a picture in our boardroom of this fire as well. So we decided to do, our Acadian community flag on one side, Canadian flag on the other. So this side here, this little compartment here would be our wheel chocks. Our wheel chocks are in there for when we park the truck. Coming back to this compartment, we just have an ABC fire extinguisher. This compartment here, we have all of our nozzles and our fittings. So they're all on slide-out trays. Right? And we slide our trays out easy access to get all of our fittings, all of our gated wires, all that stuff. And these lights on all the compartments, we went with red for like when we do community events in the evenings and stuff. Looks a little bit nicer. But there is a switch in the cab of the truck when we're on a fire scene. We can switch them to clear, so we can actually see what we're doing a lot better. Up here we have just an empty compartment right now. In the back here we have a ladder to access our hose bed. Our hose bed's all power actuated. There's just some clips to take the back tarps off. Everything is operated from the back of the truck. So our porta tank system can come down, and the other two switches are for the hose beds. We just got in here. We just have some suction hoses. So this is the provision for our dump. That later on, if we do want to put a dump on it, let's just take these screws out and install the valve. This is our fill. So this is what we would fill from our hydrant, or get pumped into from another truck. And this compartment here, again, just more suction hoses. Our attic ladder is in this little compartment here now, out of the weather, which is good. This is our controls for our ladder rack. So we have a 24-foot 2-section extension ladder. And we have a roof ladder in behind that. And again, another suction hose up top. So back here in this compartment, just have some extra hoses and a low-level strainer. And here we have our CO2 extinguisher. In here is our emergency scene signs. This is we're gonna try out these pylons to take up a lot less room. So these pylons just pop up. They're weighted on the bottom. So this is a compartment for them pylons. And the truck was just freshly undercoated, so don't mind the dirt. It's gonna be cleaned. We'll get it in shape here soon. In this compartment here, we have our various tools, Halligan's axes, small pike poles. So our tools that are very important to firefighters. And here we get some more hoses, our winch, some foam. So we're just waiting for some specialized foam nozzles before we put the foam in our tank. So yeah, so that's that compartment. And this side here, again, just more of our discharges. Our right side suction, our 6-inch right side 2.5, 4-inch direct, and 2.5 outlet as well. So it's a big upgrade, like I said, from our other truck. We do a lot more with it. It's a lot easier to run, to operate. So it's definitely a big truck. So if you come to the front, we have our front 6-inch suction. And we also have an area of 150 feet of 1 3/4 line to use as an attack line for a quick attack for grass fires or whatever. It has a reducer on it, so if we needed to do like a 2.5 to do a supply line, we could do that as well. So it's all little things that our truck committee asked for, and we were lucky enough to be able to outfit the truck the way we wanted. So it's definitely a big upgrade for us and our community.
So you said you guys formed a committee. When was that, and how long did it take for you guys to finally get it?
It probably took us 5 or 6 months to finalize the order. For first you order the chassis. So the chassis actually was was 212,000 for the chassis. That was with tax. We get 2,500 gallons of water. So I drive truck for a living. So myself and a couple other guys that drive truck were on the committee. So we put a 500 Cummins engine in it. Put disc brakes. Another added feature, we put disc brakes all around, air disc. So the stopping power is a lot greater. The truck itself took roughly, I think it was around 11 or 12 months for the truck to come in itself, the chassis. And after that, it come into Truro. Then it had to be taken to Metal Fab in New Brunswick, and then they do all the body, all the other stuff, the pump, the body, so all the plumbing. So it's quite a big process, and it takes some time. It was just under 2 years by the time we started talking about the truck to when we got it here last week.
Now, you guys made a Facebook post and you thanked the board of directors for being patient and understanding with all the changes you've added through the build. I assume that's part of what you were just talking about there, the things that you've added and the process and how long it took and all that stuff.
Yeah, so we, the board of directors, they were supportive of us the whole time. They said, you guys are the ones doing the work. You guys know what you're talking about. So that's, whatever you guys want. So one key feature we added was a command light on the top of the unit. That gives us, the light comes up and it turns 360 degrees. So we could light up the ball field, and so it gives us a lot better, safer out of fire scene, lighting wise. Another thing we added at the end was a foam system. So it would have been a lot cheaper to get a foam eductor, it's called. So that's a system where you hook it directly to the truck. One end goes in the bucket of foam, and you can use it like that. But you got to run the truck at 200 psi. Like they're rated for 200 psi. And myself and another couple of truck operators, the truck is capable of doing it, but I don't like having the psi that high. So we added a foam system, so which was another $26,000. So I mean the board was with us all the way. Every time we made changes, there was never any questions asked. They didn't buck us on anything. So it was a good process for our committee, and it was a long process, but it was well worth it at the end.
Now, in that same Facebook post, you also thanked the Nova Scotia firefighters 50-50 draw. And I assume you guys got some of the money off of that because I believe there was a local winner of that draw. That's how it works, eh?
Yeah, so firefighter 50-50, we receive a certain amount. I believe we receive 4 checks a year, so they're quarterly checks. So we did have a fair amount of money in our account. Obviously, we knew we were ordering a truck, so little things we bought. Our new uniforms. We spent some of that money. So so it was definitely a big help, and that comes from the support of the community. And again, we appreciate every time somebody checks that on the damn box when they're purchasing tickets.
Now that you have the new vehicle, what are you going to do with the old truck?
So the old truck, we put out the tender. There's a committee in Richmond County for the fire chiefs. So our goal was always to have the truck stay in Richmond County. But unfortunately, it put us in a bad spot because our fire truck in Richmond County was the first truck in the shape it was in to be replaced. So we weren't in a position to just donate the truck for nothing. So at the Richmond County Fire Chiefs meeting, I told the chiefs in attendance that if anybody was interested in it, we are putting out the tender, but put a bid. And I told them if we get offered 100,000 from somebody in Yarmouth, and we get 30,000 from somebody here, chances are it's still going to stay here, but we need something for it. So we had a couple of fire departments interested. One fire department, the truck was too big, wouldn't fit in their hall. and another fire department. They weren't interested. They were interested, and they come look at it, and they weren't interested in the engine and the type of engine that was in the truck. So they decided to pursue other options. So we put the truck to tender. We got 3 bids. We got a bid from 4 valleys in Antigonish County, and we got a bid from the Lakes and District in Yarmouth, and we got a bid from Ingonish Fire in Cape Breton. So Ingonish was the winning bid. It was not the highest bid, but we decided to give the truck to Ingonish, and that was decided by our board of directors.
What other projects are you guys working on right now? Do you have any things that you guys are doing now, or some plans for the future here at the department?
We're still waiting for some more pieces of equipment to come in for the new truck. We've ordered some specialized valves and some specialized nozzles. We're still waiting for that stuff to come in. As of right now, we got a good group of guys here, and they're keeping the maintenance up on the trucks fairly well. So our rescue van, we got there actually. The rescue van and the pumper, we got at the same time in 2006. We got the 2 of them together. Recently, we've done a lot of renovations to the exterior. We've done the kitchen. During COVID, the kitchen was done, the exterior of the building, the Generac system. So going forward right now, we're excited to have a new truck.
Joining me today is the interim leader of the Liberal Party of Nova Scotia. Welcome back, Sydney member to MLA, Derek Mombourquette.
Hey, Jake, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So on March 18th, your party tabled a bill to establish new long-term economic goals for Nova Scotia in the face of increasing global challenges like tariffs.
Yep.
Why is it important to take recommendations from the Ivany report of 2014 for this bill?
Well, the Ivany report laid out a number of targets that we should look at from a provincial perspective, how we utilize our resources here, how we utilize our universities. So the report was one that was a lot of work went into it. It was something that the government of the day when we were in, we used as a bit of a blueprint. And for Ian and I in the session, it's really been all economy. So we, for the most part, we went into this session, with what's happening down south of the border and the volatile relationship that we now see between Canada and the U.S. Our focus from day one really was to look at our strengths as a province and put forward legislation that would support economic growth and new economic opportunities.
Why do you believe it's important to have some collaboration here as we tackle these challenges?
Well, I think what you're seeing across the country and what we've said here in the province is that political leaders of all stripes, regardless of what side of the floor they may sit on, whether they're in a government or in an opposition, we need to unify as Nova Scotians, and we need to unify as Canadians in the face of what is unprecedented in our lifetime. This is going to be an ongoing issue. I think the relationship with the U.S. is going to be an ongoing issue under the current administration. So for us, what we've said to the government is that we're here to help. So we're here to put forward legislation that we think can help, put forward suggestions that we feel are important. One for me, for example, is rail. Rail is big, to get product to port if we're going to be into resource development, if we're looking to diversify our economy and the people that we trade with. We're going to need good roads. We're going to need air, of course. But I think, the conversation around rail, particularly in Cape Breton, is a big one for me.
You're talking about that rail line to Sydney. I believe it was the Cape Breton Central.
Yes, that's the one.
Rail there. Yes.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and there's been talks over the years with potential port development and utilizing that rail. There's a lot of work that would have to go into repair, but the bed is there, and I think that I've asked the Premier to do a review of it, and he's been open to the idea. We sent correspondence to him to follow up, and we hope that they'll do it.
Now, I know that that bill that you guys tabled on March 18th, one of the things you mentioned was there's going to be a report issued in about 12 months after there's some collaboration I believe is what was said there. Do you think that it may be too long to wait to find out what their recommendations are?
Well, I think the 12-month period is actually good in the sense that you're always reviewing the decisions that you make. So if we're into, establishing new trade partners and taking down barriers of interprovincial trade, looking at all of those aspects, that's going to take some time. We're cognizant of that. And we feel that, 12 months is a period where you look back at the successes that you've had, some of the work that the province would need to do around its own infrastructure to support interprovincial trade and trade with other partners internationally. So I'm comfortable with the 12-month review. I think after a year, we would want to look at what's working and what's not.
Then on March 19th, the Liberals, your party, tabled a bill to ensure more Nova Scotians have access to good jobs. And one aspect of it was underrepresented groups. Why do you feel it's important to get these underrepresented groups involved?
Well, I think, what we always want to do as politicians, but ultimately as citizens and communities, is we want everybody to have the same opportunities. And where we're in a situation where we're looking at, there's the trade side of it, there's the economic growth side of it, but there's also the infrastructure and the work that the province can do to help people, stimulate the economy, build infrastructure around the province, and we want to make sure that everybody has that opportunity to play a part in what will be our new economic reality.
On March 5th, the Liberals tabled a bill in the Nova Scotia Legislature outlining a framework for how the government's contingency fund could be allocated to provide meaningful relief to affected industries and workers. The bill would also require the government to develop a business and worker support plan within 30 days to ensure funding decisions are guided by the needs of those directly impacted. Perhaps you can explain why that's necessary.
Well, I think it's necessary. So the government has a contingency plan, and ultimately, and we saw this during COVID when we were in government, the government's going to spend money to potentially support families and businesses. So they've indicated that in this budget, it's not budgeted, but if they need to, they'll spend $200 million to help, kickstart the economy, help support families in the event of, tariffs on some of our major products around the province. We have big employers when it comes to forestry, when it comes to Michelin, when it comes to our fishers. So we want to make sure that there's a plan in place to make sure we're supporting as many people as possible through it. So it's one thing to have the money; it's another thing to develop the plan. So that was the real premise behind that.
On February 20th, Liberal House Leader Ian Rankin tabled the Power Bill Reduction and Green Economy Support Act, aimed at providing middle-class households with grants of up to $10,000 to install energy-saving equipment such as heat pumps and radon mitigation systems. On February 25th, the Liberals issued a press release demanding a reduction in HST for essential children's products like car seats and strollers. Then on February 26th, you said the Efficiency Program Expansion Act is a bill aimed at expanding energy efficiency programs to small landlords, allowing them to make greener energy choices and pass cost savings down to tenants. Is this push for affordability more prescient now that the tariff threat is real, even than it was back when you proposed those bills last month?
Yeah, well, it's always an important issue, cost of living. So we hear it from residents. We've been hearing it for years that you see increases in your power rates. We've seen increases in many things, the day-to-day things, and with tariffs as well. You ultimately what that does is it drives price up for consumers. So for us, those bills are aimed at a couple of things. So when you look at the residential side of things, we want people to install heat pumps. We want people to install more greener technology when it comes to operating their homes and living in their homes comfortably, because it's better for the environment, but also it's cheaper. All right, to operate a lot of these new opportunities, heat pumps, et cetera, for your home. So there's that side of it from the residential side. What the bill I tabled around the landlords, it's to give small landlords in the province the ability to apply for these programs, so they can be more efficient in the buildings that they're renting to. And we know in the reality of a rent cap, we're always looking at ways that we can support those small landlords because they're integral to the housing piece across the province. So all of those things are really based on affordability for folks, but also because we want to make sure that they can access them as cheaply as possible, and it's lower cost for them.
Liberals have also been calling for more transparency and accountability when it comes to government spending. On February 13th, your party urged collaboration on the economy, calling on the Houston government to take decisive action to strengthen the economy, noting the need for responsible investments. Then on February 18th, your party introduced bills to strengthen Nova Scotia's fiscal health and eliminate trade barriers in Atlantic Canada. You tabled an amendment in the Finance Act, bringing Nova Scotia in line with all other provinces by requiring all out-of-budget spending to be approved by the legislature. Do you believe the current government is evading responsibility with out-of-budget spending?
Well, we've seen that theme this entire session when it comes to the transparency side of things. So, the session started off with the government trying to fire the Auditor General without cause. They didn't see the value of the work that the Auditor General's office does. They're independent of the elected government. They're there to serve Nova Scotians, really, and the reports that they do are important. You see many reports come out around education, around healthcare, and the government wanted to eliminate that. And so that's a huge concern. Then you had the privacy commissioner indicate there was grave concerns there too, as well, with the changes that they were trying to make to her office. So we've seen this theme when it comes to the spending. We've seen the government spend historically. Also, they have received historic transfer payments from the province. They're operating, their budget they're saying is going to be a $700 to $900 million deficit, depending on what happens with any kind of contingency funds that are used in the tariff situation to support people. So for us, it's the case of it's major overspending in the hundreds of millions of dollars each and every year. So for us, and other jurisdictions do it right across the country, is that anything above and beyond what they budget, we're saying you should bring it back to the legislature if you're going to invest it in particular programs and services for people.
Noting a number of cases of intimate partner and gender-based violence in Nova Scotia, on February 7th, your party introduced the Intimate Partner Violence Prevention Act to establish a dedicated fund to provide core funding to organizations that work to prevent violence and support victims. Ian Rankin said the Canada-Nova Scotia Targeted Housing Benefiting Increase Act will expand eligibility for the program to help more low-income Nova Scotians struggling with rent receive support. Advocacy groups have identified housing insecurity as a major barrier preventing women from leaving dangerous situations. Rankin tabled amendments to the Costs and Fees Act to ensure that witnesses in court cases are reimbursed for travel expenses at the provincial rate in both directions and receive a per diem of $100 per day. This will remove financial barriers that could discourage victims and other witnesses from participating in the justice system, your party noted. How concerning is this recent trend? And I'm assuming there's more that can be done to combat these instances of violence.
Yeah, it's been devastating, to be honest, and it's been heartbreaking to hear the stories of families that have been impacted. This is a major issue in this province. And what we've been advocating for, and as you've talked about in the bill, and what advocates have told us, is that the issue really was around that core funding. It was, having a line of sight for years, so you can say, okay, these are the investments that we need to make to support the organizations that are helping folks flee intimate partner violence and escape it, and also look at the other strategies around like what housing infrastructure needs to be in place. So we've seen some investment by the government. We applaud it. That it's exactly what we've all been advocating for when it comes to supporting these wonderful organizations, but there's still a lot of work to do. This is something that it's not just there's great organizations and advocates out there that do tremendous work each day to support these families that are fleeing, and predominantly women who are fleeing intimate partner violence. But we got to take a whole kind of holistic approach when it comes to our school system and how we look at programming to help support healthy relationships and do whatever else we can to support these families.
So I assume the session is not over, and that you guys have other bills and that you're looking at tabling, and other issues that you'd like to hit on as well. I don't know if you can unveil much at this point in time, but I assume you guys are looking at a number of things right now.
Well, I can say this: I'm really proud of Ian and for the work that he does, and you know, him and I are in this together. We have a great staff here in the office that are working day and night to support what we're doing. We've been consistent in our messaging and what we want to accomplish to help support Nova Scotians. And you know, the legislature isn't over yet. We're looking at other bills that we may want to table as we move forward, and we're heavy into it again today with a number of bills that are now going to go to the committee of the whole House. So this is the opportunity where you may see amendments. Because we just went through public bills, and there's a huge issue around consultation. That's the theme that's coming out of this. Is the government has done a terrible job of consulting with stakeholders before they've been putting some of this legislation forward. So we heard it again big time last night from regulators across the province around the interprovincial trade bill. So we're hopeful the government will make some revisions to the bills. We'll have some amendments that we want to bring forward. So still a lot of work to do.
Well, that's great. I really appreciate you taking time into your busy schedule. I know with the House in session, it's not easy to find the time, but I really do appreciate you sitting down, speaking with me and our viewers.
Hey, thank you, and everyone at home. Thank you so much. And I wish you all the best, and I hope we get to talk again soon.
Kent Smith, Nova Scotia's Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture, issued a statement recently about tariffs imposed by China and those proposed by the United States. Smith said the tariffs will have an impact on the province's seafood sector. He said this is a very complicated and dynamic situation that will continue to evolve in the coming days and months. The minister said the seafood sector is the backbone of rural communities and a foundation of Nova Scotia's economy. The province will continue to support the seafood sector during these uncertain and challenging times to help ensure its long-term sustainability and prosperity, Smith noted. Smith said his department has been in constant communication with seafood businesses since the threat of tariffs emerged, and he recently met with representatives to learn more about their situations, the potential impacts of tariffs on their businesses, as well as the supports they may need to mitigate these impacts. The virtual meeting with fish buyers, processors, and representatives from the aquaculture sector also included Colton LeBlanc, Minister of Growth and Development, and Nolan Young, Minister of Labor, Skills, and Immigration. Smith said his government will continue to engage with industry as the situation evolves. The minister said Premier Tim Houston is working closely with his provincial and territorial colleagues, along with the Prime Minister, on a Team Canada approach to addressing the tariffs. The government of Nova Scotia has also established a tariff response hotline for all businesses where they can get information, support, and advice on the tariffs, Smith said. To help deal with the tariffs, the province has set aside $200 million for a contingency fund, and Smith said his department also received an additional $200,000 in permanent funding to support market diversification activities specific to the seafood sector. He said there are many other supports at the federal and provincial levels for companies who wish to explore new markets. Smith added that the province is actively working on market diversification activities for the seafood sector and will accelerate work on this front. In fact, provincial officials traveled to North America's largest seafood expo in Boston to make new connections and promote Nova Scotia seafood to the world.
Hello everybody, Becky here. I'm here to speak with Pam Sampson, and Pam recently took a course within Literacy Network, right?
Yes.
And and it was one of those courses that taught you digital skills and computers and stuff like that?
Well, for me, because I had been working with computers, and all my background has been, I was a computer technician, so I had a lot of
yeah.
skills, but I retired
Right.
from all of that, and after I was with them for maybe 20 plus years, but after 2 years of not being in working with computers and not doing anything digitally, you kind of forget things, so it was kind of a refresher thing that I wanted to do.
Yeah, and the way that technology changes so rapidly, you can fall behind even if you just don't if you don't even look at a computer for like 6 months.
Exactly.
Think new programs, new apps, all of that stuff. And I guess as a retired person, probably was a little bit intimidating, just a speck.
Well, it wasn't too intimidating because it was something that I really wanted to get back into, and being retired, it was good for a little bit, but because I've been working for so long, it got boring for me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had like a little side business that I had, but everything that you do now is all digital and it's all computerized. So for me to even get into that, I had to relearn some skills because I'd sit behind a computer and say, okay, I forget how to do this. So
Yeah. So did you hear about this course like online or word of mouth, or how did you hear about
well, it
that?
was word of mouth, but I had a couple of people that said if I wanted to do that, I could, and it was just I had all the time in the world, and it was free, so that
Right.
was a bonus there. And I say, well, I might as well. If I don't like it, you can always quit. You
Yeah,
don't
and
have
the
to.
instructors of the Literacy Network are great too.
Oh my goodness, I guess
Yeah.
they fit whatever
Yeah.
you can do, and you can even
Yeah.
borrow some computers and do it from home. And
Yeah, they're very accommodating.
yes,
Yeah,
very.
we're very lucky to have the Literacy Network in this area, the Richmond County Literacy
Oh
Network.
my God, I don't know why a lot of people just don't take advantage of it. And
Well, I don't know if some people, I think that some people are intimidated. I think that's the problem. But once they get with the instructors and see how warm and helpful they are, I think it makes a big difference. Like, do you find that it built your confidence a little more?
yes, it
Yeah.
does. And as soon as you take the I can't do this, or I don't want to do this, or it's going to take too much of my time, as soon as you get negative out, that's when you can accomplish something.
Oh,
and
yes.
it's just give yourself a little push.
Yes, yes. And it's always, for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other people, it's always nice to feel like you've accomplished something after you've taken a course like that.
Oh yes, for sure.
Yeah. So did you learn some new things that you didn't know about?
I did. There was a lot of stuff from Google that I had never worked with my whole career, and to actually see something that I hadn't learned before, and so it was a little bit tricky, and but I got through it.
But it's a challenge.
It was a challenge.
And we all like challenge. Like most people like challenges. We challenge ourselves to things every day, or at least I do, and I'm sure you do too. So, has it made a change in the way you do things? Like, have the skills that you picked up allowed you to use them, like in your current?
Yeah, well, I that's what I wanted to. Why I took up those courses, so that I could build it in my business, and it's made quite a change because all the sales now are just pretty much online.
Awesome. Well, the other thing too is the Literacy Network makes it really easy for people to take these courses because they offer them in St. Peter's and they also offer them in Ayrshire.
Yes.
So it kind of, it reaches, it tries to make sure that it can reach everybody. So what would you say to somebody who was a little bit reluctant or on the fence about taking one of these courses but really kind of wanted to? What would you say?
I'd say give it a try. Just give yourself a push and just say, I'm going to try this. If I don't like it, I'll just quit.
Yeah.
But you got to try something in order to know if you like it or not.
That's right. Because I think that a lot of the elderly people, for example, could benefit a great deal because the internet scares them. Some people, the internet scares them. And just basic skills and knowing what to do is always a good thing. I mean, there's so many scams around and stuff, that kind of stuff scares people. Well, it scares young people too.
Well, that's it. And everything is digital now. You
Oh,
do your
yeah.
banking online. You can shop online, and it's so convenient if seniors really did try to learn a little.
Well, I think too,
that.
it's a part of a social thing. You know, if you're confident with your computer skills or even logging onto the internet or anything that maybe you didn't know how to do, because I know plenty of people that don't know how to do that yet. I think it changes their lives, especially if they're isolated in any way. It kind of opens a new world to them, but it's also a scary world for somebody, a senior, for example, who is not used to having that sort of interaction. So I think it makes them more comfortable to know that they've learned something, you know, like they've picked up and acquired a skill that they know how to do, and they're more confident. Do you find that this course gave you confidence?
Well, they say a change is better than resting. Well, that's
right.
definitely in this case.
Yeah.
If you're a senior, and it gives you more options to try to socialize. They have Zoom meetings now,
Oh, yes.
and that's just something to learn on its own, Zoom. And they have a lot of information that you can get with programs that if you can go online, you can get a lot of information that's going to benefit seniors or young people or...
Well, I mean, it also is really, really great for people, like with my grandchildren. My grandchildren know more about computers than I do. And, you know, in some cases, it almost makes you feel like, oh, gosh, I'm inadequate. I might say the wrong thing. I think it puts you on more of a level playing field, you know, as far as communication goes.
Yes.
So kudos to the Literacy Network for doing that. They've been doing this for a long time, so they're experts.
And it's free.
And we're so lucky to have the Literacy Network in Richmond County. We really, really are. I mean, those types of programs, not everybody has access to.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm really happy that you learned all these new skills. I can't wait to see what you do next, because you're kind of a go-getter, and I know that. I think we all know that. So thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.
And to get a hold of the Literacy Network, you can get a hold of the Literacy Network through their Facebook page or by getting in touch with Mitch David, the executive director. And they do have a website as well. So if anybody wants any information, you know, I'll be happy if you want to call Tell-Il to give it to you. So thank you for coming, Pam.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you for watching. Please tune in again to find out what we will be talking about on The Record.